When you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't have the right sexual bandwidth that you have, and what does that mean? That means if one of you loves sex and one of you doesn't, that's you don't have the same sexual bandwidth. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just a whole lot of work if one of you has to keep trying to convince the other, or if you don't know how to keep it fantastic and sparkly and thrilling, if you don't know how to encourage your partner to stay healthy and youthful. These are all things that have to do with sexual bandwidth, and it's all going to fall apart. This beautiful, romantic, passionate relationship where sex was the glue, it's all going to end. And sex is always the glue. I hate to tell you. How much stuff you own is never the glue, in spite of what some people seem to think. All right, now, the next part of it is emotional bandwidth. So if you're as emotional as GiGi and I, we want somebody who speaks about love, who demonstrates love, who's willing to have us demonstrate love. And you have to be sure it's someone who comes from a background that accepts that, because my famous story about my boyfriend when I was 14 is one of the reasons he broke up with me is because I draped myself on him when I was sat on his lap. I draped myself on him. So I was just speaking to a very dear friend of mine who I dated when I was 15 originally. We dated long after that, but we met when I was 15, and I said to him, did I ever tell you what, He said, he's chuckling. He said, well, that was one of your most attractive qualities, wasn't it? So here's somebody who has the right approach. And he was teasing, it's like, what's wrong with that? There are millions of people all over the world paying a lot of money for that. So, like, what's the problem here? And we laughed about it. So that's the emotional bandwidth, and also to some degree the sexual bandwidth. And you just have to be aware. By the way, what is the problem with that guy so many years ago? That's a WASP, where they're brought up not to have any kind of overt emotional sexual connection. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be with somebody where I can't hold his hand and give him a hug, give him a kiss in public. That's just too strange for me.
Right. Yeah.
Too punitive.
I know, you want to openly kiss on those corners of every intersection along the way, right?
That's right, without being thrown out of the beach club.
Okay, let's explore, what about the energy? Let's say that we bring creating lifelong love, and don't you have to know when to hold them, when to fold them, when to walk away, when to run?
You do. You do. But who among us didn't know soon enough, right? How many of us didn't know? But then on the other hand, how many of us were in relationships with people who didn't know when to hold them, fold them, walk away or run from us because it wasn't working? So these are the things you learn as you get older. And people who haven't had the opportunity to date a lot usually haven't learned this, and I have to teach them. They'll tell me, well, this is what Bob did, and this is what Jane did, and I don't know what to do about it, Well, what evidence do you have that Jane is really into you, or that Bob is really into you? Because the story you told me indicates, sounds to me as if that person really isn't into you. Now, that doesn't mean that if you clean up your act, that person might take another look. But we're speaking about the way it is right now. So you have a choice. You can either fold them now and walk away and make some changes in your behaviors, and then return when you can show up as a different, peaceful, powerful, loving, passionate person. It's another option.
And that's the ultimate. That's how you want to show up. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So it seems the biggest problem is monogamy. So what is your solution to this?
The tantric lock, which is what I was describing, a few questions ago. The tantric lock is the secret, but it's not the secret for every single man and every single woman. You have to find somebody who is romantic enough to be able to fall in love. Because there are a lot of people who do not have the capability to love. They just don't. They're not going to fall in love with you. And the tragedy is, wait 20, 30 years, look back as I've done, and they aren't any different with the other people. And that can be very comforting. That you know it wasn't anything you did wrong or anything that you could have done differently. They're just not there. And the idea you had that if so-and-so received more of this and less of that, he or she would be, you know, this perfect partner, usually it doesn't prove out to be true. And so you have to decide, honestly decide if you're really monogamous. Honestly. And then, if you are, then you want a partner who's monogamous 90% of the time. And you're going to go for somebody who's also monogamous. And you have to listen to their history. You know, you have to listen to what happened in the past. Because if a person tells you that, well, he wasn't monogamous, and he wasn't monogamous, and he wasn't monogamous, which many of us tell that story because there are not that many men who are, but you have to be suspicious. Make sure that the person telling the story is really monogamous.
Oh my, okay. Then on the other hand, when it comes up, if you give them too much information, it could be used as ammunition later.
Against you. Against you. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. So be really aware of the person who's telling you the story about her life or his life. You know, and particularly if they do a whole victim thing. You know, I was perfect. It wasn't me. You know, it's like, oh, I'm a little suspicious already. But so listen, and so monogamy is something that not everybody's wired for. Most people I found, not, and I don't mean personal experience alone, I mean in all the thousands of people I've worked with, you know, everyone's not monogamous. Know that going in. Know that you're looking for someone who is monogamous. But then I wrote an article for one of my blogs, a monogamous man as rare as a Siberian tiger, right? So you can find that, you know, online, or ask me if you want to read it. But you still have to treat him right. You still have to treat him like the rare treasure he is, because a lot of those men, I know their story, and they were really set adrift. That's the only way to describe it. And if a man is set adrift long enough, or a woman is set adrift long enough, they are going to be with someone else if they enjoy passion and love and affection. So it's not a guarantee of anything.
Yeah, okay, so eliminate the lie detector. Okay. Now, what are the 4 steps to the bottom line to maintaining this lifelong love?
Well, it's really what we spoke about before. You know, you have to find the person who has such an irresistible spark with you that you just think about them this way and think about them this way and think about them this way. Then you have to make sure that you nurture this. And as I said, I discovered, much to my shock, very recently, that the best way to nurture it is very much like fishing, if you've ever gone fishing. You know that you have to jiggle the line enough until the fish is well and truly been swallowed, right? The hook is in there. So you've got to jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Take some time. Don't rush into it, because it just doesn't have that same sweetness. It doesn't have that same nectar. For whatever reason, it seems that if you've had to work to acquire this, it has more value. Now, you know, a lot of people have a different point of view. I'm just telling you what my point of view is at this point in my life, based on an experience that proved it to me incontrovertibly, though I was shocked. You know, I was really surprised. So that's the second thing. You've got to really nurture it, nurture it, nurture it, and time does that. Then you've got to make sure that you're so into this person and this person's so into you that you just keep fanning the flame, make it fabulous, make it fabulous. Do incredible things for, with each other, and keep them coming. Always be thinking in the back of your mind, what can I do to make today more wonderful for him or for her? And then never stop. Never stop evolving, never stop contributing, never stop loving and allowing yourself to be loved.
How perfect that can be. Thank you, Susan. So the key to finding lifelong love is to becoming the love of someone else's life and becoming committed to doing what works and avoiding all that does not work. Perfectly said.
100%? Zero.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. And usually we can figure that out, right?
Well, not so much. I mean, I'm amazed that a lot of people don't have any idea that that thing they just said is the one thing.
Oh.
You know, or a lot of clients will call me and say, I know you're going to be mad at me, but I said da-da-da to my partner. Well, I mean, the question you have to ask yourself is, if you realized after you said it that this would be a bad idea, did you express a deep level of regret to your partner before he or she walked out of the room? You know, it's not enough to commit yourself to being truthful. You have to be kind. It's not enough to be monogamous. You have to be someone who's capable of creating a deep level of intimacy where two merge into one. Otherwise, basically, keep your monogamy. Who needs it? There's nothing happening. Nobody's home. So there are a lot of very subtle explanations for each of these qualities and each of these attributes. And when somebody understands them, then they can make life wonderful for you. You can make life wonderful for them. And if you don't have that understanding, please let me give you a free session so at least you get the distinction.
The love language.
Yes.
Now, most people really don't want to keep searching until they find the love, the lifelong love that they want. What about them? What advice would you have?
Well, I know that that's the same kind of hopelessness they feel about anything else. You know, people feel hopeless they can ever get a great job, and then I teach them and we get them a great job. People feel hopeless that they can ever find a great home, and then they work with a realtor I may know or someone they know, and then they find something completely different that they didn't know about before. You know, so it's just a question of skills. The skills in these cases are to have whole brain functionality. You have to be able to take an idea, upper right brain, and then go from the idea, thank you, Fred, then go from the idea into the upper left brain, the logical analysis of data, dollars, and numbers, the facts and figures. Then you go from the upper left down to the lower right. What are your feelings about it? What are your partner's feelings about it? Who are the people you know who are mentors? In this case, finding a lifelong partner, it's me, I'm the mentor. So how can I help somebody? Well, I teach them all these different skills. And then you take that to finally the lower left brain, which is the action plan, the planning, the organizing. And that means I'm teaching you how to do online dating. I'm teaching you how to email candidates who might be perfect for you. I'm teaching you how to read their emails. I'm teaching you how to motivate phone calls and have phone calls and how to go on dates. You know, because most of us don't know this stuff. You know, I have a friend who's my age, a little older, and she never really had a relationship with a man. And so the stuff that, you know, GiGi and I forgot more than this friend of mine has ever known. But it's not too late for her to learn, so she's learning. And in a week, she was out on, you know, having coffee with men. Until I said to her, well, you know, I don't go on coffee dates. She said, you don't? I said, no, I'm not willing to get all dressed up and put on makeup and get dressed and stop what I'm doing to have a cup of coffee with somebody. If he's not sure that he likes me enough to have lunch with me or dinner with me, then it's obviously not a match. I'll talk to him on the phone, let him see whatever he needs to see. Sure, no problem.
Well, the beautiful thing is, Susan, you can really help people to get what they want. You can make it work for them. You can direct them, and whatever quirks they have, you can kind of iron them out or something. So that's awesome.